So there's a brief accounting of drugs in rock and roll. We didn't cover everything, of course, because there's, hash, mushrooms, ecstasy, crystal meth, crack, huffing, glue, cough syrup, and if we really want to be complete, we would have to talk about caffeine. Again, this is not any kind of endorsement for the use of drugs. It's a warning more than anything else. But these chemicals have been a fact of life in some quarters of rock and roll, and there's no indication that it'll ever be any other way. Next, a look back at what went on in 1979.
More of the secret history of rock coming up. Back to the secret history of rock with Alan Cross.
Every secret history program features a look back at a specific year, and this time it's 1979. That was when things really went to hell in Iran with the Islamic Revolution, the return of the Ayatollah Khomeini, the storming of the American embassy, and the hostage crisis that lasted for 444 days. I remember standing in my backyard in Manitoba on February 26th and watching a total eclipse of the sun. My school was so freaked out that kids might go blind staring at the sun that they gave everybody the day off. They didn't want to take any responsibility. Sony started selling something called the Walkman in Japan, and it came with 2 headphone jacks because the head of the company could not believe that people would want to seal themselves off from the world with headphones. Imagine. In March 1979, a Dutch company called Philips demonstrated a new thing called the compact disc. The record companies weren't interested, at least not at first. Disco was huge, but the backlash was getting bigger. On July 12, 1979, there was an event between games of a doubleheader between the Chicago White Sox and Detroit at Comiskey Park. It was called Disco Demolition, and it caused a riot. Anti-disco crusaders invaded the field, and Chicago had to forfeit the second game. Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols died of an overdose before he could go to trial on charges that he murdered his girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. We talked about that earlier. Ozzy was fired as singer of Black Sabbath, and his replacement was Ronnie James Dio. Bad Religion, the Beastie Boys, Husker Du, Spandau Ballet, and the Replacements all came together in 1979. The Runaways, with Joan Jett, broke up, and so did the Two-Boy Army, Gary Newman's band, but not before they released a record called Replicas, which contained this hit.